This is This Week in Perspective with me, Adam Simbe. The Ministry of Health, and of course, it's a long name, we have children, gender, elderly, and all of it, in collaboration with the United Nations Fund for Population Activities, UNFPA, will host, and other stakeholders, will host a nursing and midwifery scientific conference in Dodoma from the 4th to the 6th of April. The theme of this conference is Towards Quality, Compassionate and Safe Nursing and Midwifery Practice, in order to address maternal and neonatal morbidity and mortality rates. To discuss this important subject, of course, and the impending conference, I have two panelists here, rather unusual, but they'll be able to address the issues perfectly and competently. On my right is Gustav Moyo from the Ministry of Health, Children, Gender, Elderly, but Ministry of Health.
Yes.
He's the Director of the Nursing and Midwifery Department. Okay?
Okay.
Am I right?
You are right.
Thank you. Then on my left, the only lady, and thank you for coming. You have broken my gender imbalance for a long time, is Felista Bwana from the UNFPA, United Nations Population Fund, and she's a specialist in health statistics and all that. Program specialist, health certificate and the rest. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Viewers, we apologize. Two panelists who are also going to join us representing two stakeholders and the important organizations which are collaborating with the two, UNFPA and the ministry, for reasons known best by them. I mean, but they apologize, so we couldn't just postpone the discussion. We thought we would go ahead with the two, because after all, the two panelists here are equally capable and important. So, not being gender insensitive, I'll start with my friend on the right, Gustav Moyo, but you'll also come in and respond to the same question, sure. Felista, all right?
Yeah.
What is the scientific conference for nursing and midwifery about, the one to be held in Dodoma? What is it about?
Thank you, Mr. Simbe. This scientific conference is about discussing, sharing experience on nursing and midwifery issues in order to know what is the current situation, to share best practices, what has worked in one place of our country or internationally, and probably come up with a resolution and some recommendation in order to improve the quality of our nursing and midwifery services. But in particular this time we put more focus and linking it in particular to address maternal and neonatal mortality and morbidity. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moyo. Felista.
Yes.
UNFPA.
Yes.
You deal with the population activities. How come that you are involved in the preparation and all this of this conference? What is it for?
Thank you so much. UNFPA is not all about the population, but even that population, UNFPA is basically envisioning to see that every pregnancy is wanted, every childbirth is safe, and young people's potential is fulfilled. So with that context and the fact that UNFPA mandate is to advance sexual reproductive health and rights for all people in the world, including in Tanzania. So this meeting for us is very critical, and it is very important given that we are working with the ministry to support and to strengthen the capacity of human resource workforce, which is very important in reducing maternal and newborn mortality and morbidity. That's why we are very much engaged and worked closely with the ministry to ensure that this first meeting of nursing and midwifery is going to happen in Tanzania. And probably it is going to open a door for more advanced, for more research, for more best practices to be shared in the country, even outside. Because right now, we understand we have a lot of study which has been conducted by different people in Tanzania, but the forum for sharing sometimes is limited. So if we have like this kind of conference, you anticipate and motivate other people within this profession to be able to do study, to be able to share what they are doing right there. So for us, we are taking as a one first step going forward to increase the participation of this profession in the science.
I'm aware that even if PA has been involved in the planning and organization of the conference. Do you think the conference will really take place on the specific dates that you have assigned, and it will be successful?
Surely yes. Surely yes, because I think we have done a lot of preparation together with the ministry, but also other partners supporting the health sector as well, especially in this area of human resource for health, and very specifically on nursing and midwifery workforce, because as you know that this is the large workforce in the health sector. Nursing and midwifery, many midwives, they are the largest workforce. So, and all the partners who have been engaged in preparing this meeting, they have been committed because of that understanding. And we have months, I can say since last year, we have months of preparation from looking to the technical part of it, how, for example, the abstract will be submitted, the papers, the thematic areas, which we understand that the thematic areas are very much key to the welfare of women and children. That's why they were selected as well. So the preparation has been so much in not only logistics, but the technical part. And we have been very much as UNFPA engaged in both parties, that like logistics and the
before I come to Gustav,
yes,
actually I'm still with you.
Yes.
How involved, how important are the nurses and midwives in the area of mother and child care as well as mortality?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and I will speak directly that a midwife is the first contact to a woman and the baby, and when you have a well-educated, well-regulated, well-motivated midwife, you are very sure of the way. I mean the welfare of women, because, for example,
that is during pregnancy.
Yes, throughout the period before pregnancy, during pregnancy,
and after delivery,
childbirth, and after delivery. So, and according to studies, that when midwives, well trained, motivated, and regulated well, they can manage over 80% of all these childbirth-related issues. So they're more likely to prevent maternal mortality comparing to what people might think, because they are the very first contact to the babies and the mothers. Yes, exactly. So that's why I say this is a large workforce, but at the same time, it is very potential and very key in addressing the maternal and newborn mortality and the morbidity in the country, and even globally.
Well, I mean, they're very basic, as you rightly said, and very fundamental.
Yeah.
Mr. Moyo.
Yes, sir.
How many nurses and midwives are expected to attend this conference in the Dome?
About 400, and so far, like today, we have already a confirmation for about 300 nurses and midwives, and it's an international conference. We have nurses coming in from the US, Japan, we have nurses coming from Kenya, we have some coming from Korea, Australia. So, and I'm glad we are also seeing a lot of nurses coming from various councils, Ileje, Chunya, Namtumbo. This is the places where we want all these people to get opportunity to come and learn, to come and share. And so we are expecting a lot. And I must take this opportunity before I forget to thank particularly the employers, the district executive directors, because most of them have been willing to support those nurses and midwives to come and attend. So we are expecting a lot.
Yes. In other circumstances, one would say 400 is a jamboree. But, I mean, this is the way you planned. You wanted to cover a wider audience from the nursing and the midwifery profession. I understand this is the first time you're going to hold this conference.
Yeah, the first time.
What really prompted the ministry, with the support of the UNFPA, to have a conference like this? And why didn't you have one before?
Well, maybe the first thing I must say is before 2 years ago, we didn't have a fully fledged division for nursing and midwifery services. So this was the first time in this country to have a fully fledged division of nursing and midwifery services at the ministry, and I was honored, humbled, and privileged to be the first director. And we thought, as the ministry, we needed to work with science. You know, we are policymakers and whoever, but we needed science to inform us. And one of the best approach to really learn most of sciences, particularly relating to research, surveys, what works, is to hold such a conference. So we are holding this conference, and we are bringing in many people from different backgrounds. We have encouraged, I wish I would have shared the abstracts that I've accepted for presentation. They are coming from various backgrounds, and that is the motive we want to benefit from. And we want that to be used as a stimulant to nurses and midwives across the country to try to have a critical mind to whatever environment they are working, because that will help them to solve their problem using relevant local approaches.
What is the existing link of communication or process of exchange of ideas between nurses in the country? Nurses and midwives in the country?
Yeah.
That's directed through you, or you through to them, or there's something else?
It depends with what type of communication you are referring to. As you know, I'm working at the ministry, it's a sectorial ministry, so we are mandated to develop and guide the whole sector, all policies and guidelines related to the nursing and midwifery services. So we develop those, we share, and we try to ensure they are observed. But when we come to forums where we meet nurses and midwives, we have about 4 forums happening every year. We have professional associations, for instance. One of them is the Tanzania Midwives Association. They meet every year. And when they meet, they have scientific part of that meeting. We have the Tanzania National Nurses Association. They meet every year. When they meet, they share that. And we have also another meeting for nurse tutors. And this one is more like the umbrella, the biggest one, incorporating everybody, and it will be managed by my department.
Do you where does the, if it does exist, I remember that it was the Nurses and Midwifery Council.
It is.
Is it under
No,
ministry?
it is, you know, the council as a regulator, yes, it falls under the ministry because it is a regulatory authority under the ministry like TFDA or any other regulatory authority. But it is there and it will play a big role because that regulatory authority under the law has a big role to play. It, in order to license them, it has set standards, the competencies are expected for someone to practice. And they can follow and see if this practitioner is actually practicing according to that standard. And they have legal power to take action, suspend, caution, or even delete completely from the register. So they will be involved. They are they are also a very important part in this conference.
Is this because of their regulatory efficient work? That's why you don't have fake nurses appearing in hospitals as opposed to doctors, fake doctors. Fake doctors, but
yeah,
I've never heard of a fake nurse, you know, operating.
There are various issues. There may be, there is a difference between forgery and fake professional. So it is true there are a number of people faking around, pretending to be nurses or midwives. But the truth is the Nurses and Midwives Council is in this country since 1952. Likewise,
that was before independence.
Before independence, yes. And the first meeting was on 5th February 1953. And the Medical Council has been in existing well from 1948. But I think you may not hear a lot about doctors because, as my colleague here have said, doctors are few. Nurses and midwives are huge. Before this year, when the law for regulating nurses was reviewed, it was only licensing the medical doctors with degree in medicine. It was not regulating clinical assistant, clinical officers, and these are the majority. So it was dealing with a very small team. That's why you went. But again, when it's a fake doctor, it's much more alarming than probably a fake other person. But we have people who are forging. But our regulatory authority is very robust. For years, it has been licensing, subjecting people to review their license, and the employer are enforcing that. So it is not easy for somebody to really be fake nurse, midwife without being identified.
Okay. Felicita,
yes.
Bwana, you participate from the word go in terms of organization and planning since last year, almost a year.
Exactly.
Can you tell us very quickly, what are the objectives and purpose for the conference, and what will be achieved, what is expected to be achieved, very quickly? And Mr. Moyo can also come.
Yes, I think some of the issues he has already said, but in fact, the first, the aim of the conference is to have a forum who are nurses and midwives can be able to share, discuss, and also agree on some of the key interventions that can help to improve this profession and also help to address the challenge we have as a national of high maternal mortality and high newborn mortality and morbidity. Because this is, I think you understand that this is one of the main challenges right now. And as you go back to the statistics of 2015 of the national, DHS, it is high. 556 women dying out of the 100,000 live births is a lot.
Per year?
Yes, it's a lot. So, because if people can do the model of the calculation, I think it's more than probably 10 women in terms of number 15. But anyway, I don't want to go to that. But basically that we know that women are dying. And they are dying not because of reasons which we don't know. We all know the reason why they are dying.
Ignorance?
There are so many reasons. Many reasons. We'll come back to that. It is competence is also one of that. There are so many kind of converging factors that contribute to this the situation we are as a country, and most of these reasons are preventable. So, and that's the sad part of it, because if it was not, it was like difficult to prevent, then that's something else. But the reasons are preventable, but still we have not been able to ensure that we stop.
You wouldn't dare to say why?
I would dare. Let me go let me go to your question first, and I would dare, and I'll come back to that. But because of that, the situation, that's when the ministry, we discussed together, we said, no, let's have a forum where we can come up with some solutions to improve, particularly the quality of care. Because probably one of the reasons why women are dying is the quality of care. And of course, the other associated reasons. Then let's have a forum, learn from other countries, learn from people here who have done well. We understand we have a, is it a village? Is it Utuli? In Mbeya.
It's a village in Mbeya.
Where they have put strategies, and no woman is dying now. And that is in Tanzania. It's not even
Mbeya.
outside. Yes.
That's my place, eh?
Yes, exactly. So we said, let's have a forum where we can learn from each other, discuss from countries where things have probably, changed. They have the same scenario with us, but things have changed, and then see how this forum will help us, especially in this profession, to come up with the key strategies and intervention to be able to contribute to the national goal of reducing maternal mortality. So specifically, we said that let's have like see what we'll do to improve the quality of care and ensure client safety, because that is key as well. Client safety is very important. But the other thing was to be able to determine a mechanism to improve the quality of nursing and midwifery education as well, in Tanzania, because I know that we'll come to discuss about the education, but that is one of the objectives, because we understand that this profession, still the education part, has got some issues which also need to be addressed. So learning from other people can also help us as a country to see how can we do to improve the education system of nurses and midwives. And probably we are talking of the education challenges at that level. Probably the problem is also even below, where we might need some collaboration with the Ministry of Education. We don't know, but by sharing we'll be able to understand what is the main problem, what is the issues which we can work. But also the issue around the customer care. I don't know if you have heard about what we call respectful maternity care, because every woman needs to be treated with respect and dignity. But I think you have heard
every woman or every patient?
Every patient. But this respectful maternity care is more specific for women during childbirth. Yeah, so those are some of the objectives, but also I think we are looking at the issue around the leadership. That nurses and midwives, they're also leaders. So we're also looking into that context, that how this can also be, how can we learn on this area so that nurses, midwives, they don't just sit where they are, just doing the routine work, but they don't contribute in the national conversation or national discussion regarding policy formulation and the other issues. So if there is also clear picture and clear path towards leadership in this profession, is also something which we thought we can also learn, we can discuss, and also come up with a roadmap.
Is the case you've just cited in Mbeya, which I would call a case study, have they been invited to come and present this case study, how they were able to do this, how they were able to manage?
We have invited them, and I hope they will come. Yes, because it's an experience which have been shared in a number of other forums. But it's just like, as we are talking about, taking leadership, be a change agent. So that facility staff decided to take initiative to change the thing very common, very basic, we know. And also I think what they adopted is much more involvement of the community, promoting their ownership, looking at that facility as their own, looking at the health issues not as imposed by someone, everyone taking responsibility.
Yes.
And that way, that's why they have managed. The same village members have committees. They make follow-up themselves. We didn't see you going to the clinic. We didn't see you delivering at the facility. So that was why they have managed. And I think that's also another approach which may bring changes to our health services indicators.
Mr. Moyo and Madam Buana, you both touch on the question of quality. I mean, Moyo.
Yes.
What's the quality of nursing and midwifery practice in the country, or profession, whatever you want to call it?
Well, we are witnessing...
Is it up to standard, or is it much leaves to be desired?
Well, as you can see, nowadays we hear a lot of more complaints from clients. They are not satisfied. But you know, quality depends on a number of things. So with this, we are talking about quality, but again, you cannot get quality if the practitioner is not sufficiently prepared, not competent. But then you can have the competencies in terms of the examination, the science, but if the practitioner, the way he conducts himself is not proper, you don't have that quality.
You're talking about basic skills now.
No, you are talking about the behavior. Yes, because you have to have passion to the work. This is our profession, our services are caring. And you need to be compassionate, for instance, to be able to respond promptly to the needs. And you may know about whatever infusion rate, whatever medicine, but you have no feelings to the suffering of the clients you are attending. You can ignore them. You will not see quality. Or some of people are just lazy, busy with their smartphones, but they have very good science, but they don't have the feeling. You cannot have quality. And the other component is resources. You cannot have quality if probably you don't have medicine, or you don't have some basic requirement. You don't have maybe electricity. You don't have whatever.
Or adequate working tools.
Exactly. So when you talk about quality, it is broad. Then I must confess, we have challenges, and that's why we are at the ministry. We are working seriously addressing these challenges. For instance, nowadays we are encouraging people to come forward to provide feedback on what they think was not properly done to them. They need to be empowered. We are encouraging all practitioners to have their identification shown, that it's easy for someone to say, X, Y did not attend to me the way I was expected, instead of having those blanket statements saying nurses, midwives, but you probably say nurse X, because we cannot say nurses are not trying. They are trying. And at this event, actually, we are going to award 4 nurses who had performed well. We asked the nurses in the regions, in the districts, to propose. They come up with proposal, and there was an independent committee which met and opted to award 4 who did very well. And if you read what they did, you will really appreciate and say, oh, we have nurses who are doing very, very good job. So much as you may say the quality is questionable, but we should not forget there are many, many people low there at the ground who are doing a fantastic job, and often in many challenging situations.
Particularly, that is very important, because I see after care, medical care, which is handled by nurses in one aspect, and midwifery, is very important and critical, because elsewhere in the world I've read, that is taken very seriously. And that's why we have a bigger number, I don't know the percentage of people after medical care, for example, after surgery, after this, they survive very well. But if you have inadequate skills to provide after medical care, then you have people dying unnecessarily.
Exactly.
All right? Now, you want to come in?
No, just a small thing I wanted to add in terms of quality of care. As Mr. Moyo said, there's a lot and there's a number of things, and it's just one which I wanted to link with maternal mortality and maternal newborn mortality and morbidity. It's all about, like, for example, what we call maternal and perinatal death, surveillance and response. You know, this is a way of understanding that any death, any newborn death, any maternal death should be a notifiable event. Most of the time it is ignored. And that's part of the quality of care. Because if it's notified, meaning it has to be recorded, it has to be investigated in a way at a very low level of the health level that it has to be notified. And the community should know that any death of a newborn, any death of a mother should be notified. So when it is notified and is recorded and it is followed up why this woman died. So normally there is a structure, government has a structure, but how much this structure works, how much the people there, or the nurse midwives, or the doctors there are really doing it and taking appropriate action. It's not about punishing people, but it's about ensuring that such kind of death probably has to be prevented. So that one is also an area, big part of quality, especially in maternal newborn care. So, and that is something else, I think, linked to the theme of this meeting that we are saying about the ethics, but the direct care and safety. Because that one, I understand there are people who are going to present some of the topic probably on maternal and perinatal death surveillance and response, because this is an area, seriously, when it is done correctly, we can understand, okay, probably this woman died because there was a delay from point A to point B. What should we do? Probably strengthen the referral system, probably do a lot of community engagement so that people should understand, probably encourage families to have birth preparedness plan. So, but you won't know what is needed unless you investigate why this woman died.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to add.
I come to you again, Mr. Moyo. In your view, do you think the training of nurses and midwives, as it is today, is appropriate, adequate, and well provided?
Speaking from a service provision perspective, because I'm receiving people from schools, and I can determine whether these are well prepared or questionable from what I witnessed from the service area. It is possible maybe the quality is not the same as it was before. There are a number of factors. One of them being we are witnessing now and again review of structure or system of nursing education. For instance, during our time, which was like 4 years diploma training, it came down to 2 years. During our time, for instance, midwifery was independent provided year, the whole year dedicated.
In addition to the
general nursing.
The general nursing, which was 3 years plus 1. During our time, probably we had much more clinical learning exposure than now. During our time, for instance, the hospitals were owning the schools. Now we have developed, we say we have educational regulatory authorities. We have independent academic institutions. We are not part of this hospital. And so students are going
or
to
even
the
private institutions which are training nurses and midwives.
No, you know, like let me give you an example of this faith-based institution, or like for us, talk about Muhimbili School of Nursing or Buganda or KSMC. The hospital was owning the school.
Yes.
Which means the students, they were going to their own hospital. And those people practicing, they were always looking at students at their next generation, their children. So they were much more dedicated to support them to ensure sustainability of the species, necessary species. So, but nowadays we do have these changes, and probably we may not be getting the same quality as it was. But the good thing, during this conference, we have a fully dedicated sub-theme to look at that education. We have presentation, most of us, and during that presentation, we will have people from the clinical setting talking about what they think about the quality of product. During that same session, we have invited the Tanzania Commissioner of University, Minister of Education, National Council for Technical Education. These are educational authorities to come and talk to us about what is the educational system for the country. We have tutors from diploma schools. We have from universities. And we have the people, the nurse leaders at various levels. They are all will be there. They will contribute in discussing about our nursing education and midwifery education, probably come up with what we think will be useful in order to ensure quality of our products.
Do you want to add something?
Yes, exactly. And thank you, my brother, Mr. Moyo. I think the education part is still one of the, we understand as UNFPA first that globally we support different countries in strengthening the midwifery program, which is more for the women and children. So education is one of the main pillars if you want to have a strong program in ensuring that women will deliver safely. Education is key, because if we are saying that we need to have skilled birth attendants, meaning skilled professional during childbirth, you have to, the education piece has to be looked at. And as he said correctly, that in the past, we were trained on the same, I did the same program. We were so competent that you can manage a lot of things on your own. But nowadays, you go, our graduates, they can, very difficult to find a graduate now.
A graduate nurse?
Yes, a nurse midwife. Because it's combined. Yeah, it's combined. It's a nurse midwife who can, you know, competently manage. Very few who can do that. But majority, they can't. And the factors, he has already said most of these factors. But we, you know, sometimes we say, you better have either a standalone program for midwifery and a standalone program for nurses. So because in any way a midwife is going to do nursing, because you have to do the basics.
And nursing has to do midwifery.
No, that is not necessary for that side. But because the nursing is the basics, you have to have the basics. But if it's combined, then let's consider the length of the length of the program, the training program. For example, if we want really to have competent people who can be able to help women in their newborn during the whole time of pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, child labor, and after labor, meaning that you have somebody who is competent from the start. Now, if we have people, that kind of people, you need adequate time to train them on midwifery. But if you look into the curriculum, it's challenging, very much challenging, that the hours allocated for even just normal labor. Because normal labor is the one which you expect every woman will go through. We are not expecting complication, but we understand that out of 100%, 15% of women might end up with complication. So they need another additional care. But for the normal labor, this 85% of women, they're more likely to go through normal labor. But even the hours for normal labor, they're not adequate. So now, how do you expect this graduate who is coming from school, who has not enough time to learn on just the normal one, the normal labor. Meaning that you come up with graduates, realistically, they are not very competent. That is, I mean, one part. So we are, I think, as Mr. Moyo said, probably out of this discussion and experience from others, it can also help us to be able to come up with a stronger recommendation on how to do with the education, because I think that's where one of the main challenge starts as well, apart from other reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Moyo, basic retraining is very important.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Once the nurses are recruited and they are functioning, isn't there a standard procedure that they must undergo refresher courses or whatever you want to call them to keep them updated? Yeah. Particularly today with the technological changes.
Yeah, we have that. We have that. As I said previously, in our country, fortunately, we license nurses, and they are required to renew their license from time to time, currently after every 3 years. And one of the requirements now is to show proof of continuous professional development sessions for them to be renewed. So we have that. And we started this some 3 years ago, but the response is very good. Yeah, we do have that.
Who organizes this?
We have prescribed, we have a document saying what is
guidelines?
It is a guideline. Yeah. What is a professional development activity? So we have a lot of variation, but one of them is like, for instance, this conference. If somebody attends that conference, there are points that he can earn. We do have what we call clinical meetings in our facilities, where we learn almost every week in most of hospitals. That is also a CPD, because you learn about new issue. But we have tailor-made programs, many of them, CMOC, BMOC, whatever you mentioned them. They are all CPD, because our profession is science. And science is changing all the time. The science, I had the time I graduated and employed. At that time, like the needle, we didn't have plastic for infusion. We had the metal one, putting on. So at present, it's more plastic. So the science is changing. And so we must change also. And fortunately for us, it's a moral obligation, because in our code of conduct as professional nurses, you are morally expected to update your knowledge to the up-to-date situation. Exactly. But we thought making just moral, expecting everybody to be responsible may not be enough, so we included it in the law through the Nurses Council, that when you come for license renew, you have to show proof of CPD. Yeah.
All right, okay, I'm still with you.
Okay.
Mr. Moyo. As head of the nursing and midwifery division, the ministry, you're in constant communication, contact with many institutions that take care of the nurses.
Yes.
Are you comfortable with the basic ethics, conduct of ethics, particularly of caring a midwifery? Is the ethic or ethical conduct process adequate?
Yeah, I think it's adequate, because, you know, when these people, we train them in the program and the curriculum, there are components for knowledge, skills, and the conduct, the affect element, and it's supposed all of them to be addressed. But it is true, as I said before, we are witnessing now more complaints. As with the education, similarly with the ethics, we should look at it in a much more broader perspective. When I receive a student who has finished secondary education this year, it's different from whoever received a student in 77 coming to do nursing study in terms of dedication, in terms of behavior and conduct. So you need to look at the societies also. It has a lot of influence. So if you ask someone who has finished Standard 8 in 1965, for instance, to write you a letter, and you have a graduate lawyer, actually a lawyer, to write you a letter,
there's a big difference.
Big difference. So
the Standard 8 might be able to do it better.
You may be able to understand what this Standard 8 was trying to tell you than from this person with a degree. So while we are looking at nursing and comparing and midwifery, like I did a diploma way back, and maybe someone today doing a BSc in nursing, we may do the same exam and probably I may not do very bad. So as we are talking about the educational system, the quality, we should not just narrow ourselves to nursing, but it's broad. As we are talking about the conduct, so when you talk about nurses nowadays, they behave, where are these nurses coming from? They are coming from the society. They are part of our society. You look at many other professionals around. So I think it is true we have a challenge, but probably it's not fair to single us alone, but we should look at a broader perspective, work together to address it.
Do you think, I'm saying with you, I'll come to you. Do you think nursing and midwifery profession is a core or just?
It should be a core. It should be a core. It's a caring profession. How are you going to care somebody who you have no feelings with her? It should be, but obviously we must confess. In nowadays, maybe some people are joining not because it's a core. It's they want to make life. They know it's probably easier if you do nursing to be employed. They know if you do nursing and you do your degree, it's more likely for you to get sponsorship. And they know if you do nursing, you know, nursing is one of the very few professions in this world that are easily portable worldwide. So somebody can say, I will do nursing because it's easier for me to go and work in UK, for instance, or USA. This person didn't join this profession through the call. But nursing is caring. As much as like you are caring your brother, your sister, you need to have the feeling. Otherwise, you cannot care.
Is caring services in hospitals satisfactory, in your view? Then I'll leave you and come.
I must say it is satisfactory. But we have challenges as in many other situations. I would not like to come and stand and say, nurses are hopeless, they are doing nothing. There are many of them doing fantastic job because I understand. It's a difficult job. Nursing, most of people, you ask them to go and do nursing, they'll think twice. You will be bitten by mosquito all the night. Stay awake. You don't have Christmas, you don't have weekend.
And sometimes the patients are so rude, aren't they?
No, it's caring because when you are dealing with individuals, it's not unique to us. You go to a bank, you go to a client coming and they start screaming at you for no apparent reason. And this is a person who is sick. Challenging profession, you look worldwide. Actually, in the UK, they say nurses and midwives are the high risks professions. Almost similar to a police officer in US, from the stress. When you are dealing with a patient, you have feelings, you want to help, and this person is dying just because this and that is missing. Or you are witnessing people dying continuously. for maybe you, if you see one today, another tomorrow, definitely will be depressed.
Yes.
And this is a person who continuously witnessing, and you should not think they are not human beings. Even when a mother is crying, she was expecting a live baby, it is not there, and you are witnessing that continuously. It's stressful. So to me, I think they are trying. They are trying. We should really support them. We should identify those who are not doing according to the expectation.
Is there a kind of compensation for this stressful nursing profession?
Oh, let me tell you, I think when you talk about compensation, it's a challenging statement. But what I should think is this type of employment in other countries are better paid than others. The moment you join there, you are sufficiently paid to practice because of the uniqueness of that profession.
All right. Now, I'll turn to you for the last minute.
Last word. Can I add something on related to ethics?
Then we'll combine with one of my questions.
Oh, okay. Because you remember I said about the issue around motivation. The environment in the nurses and midwives are operating is, of course, even other health personnel is still challenging in terms of motivation. That's why sometimes people become stressed, they are tired, the work is difficult, but if you're not motivated, it becomes more difficult because everyone wants to be motivated, everyone to be encouraged. Now, the motivation comes from different perspectives. One, you don't have equipment. What are you going to do? Even if you have, your head has everything. No equipment, for example, no medicine, no any commodity. Now you have even the bed sheet to put for the patient, you don't have. It's very, it's stressful because even if much as you know the ethics, it can sometimes be difficult. And now the client or the patient, they don't understand. And for them, they don't understand.
It will be pointless for you to start telling the patient,
exactly, exactly,
we don't
exactly,
have this,
exactly.
We don't have this.
Yeah.
That's not my concern.
Exactly, and I can give you one example. A few months ago, I went to, in Semi region, in one of these dispensaries, and this young midwife, a nurse midwife, she was pregnant herself, full term. We went there, she came because we were the visitors there. You know, even the mothers who were there with their children, I think there were like over 100 women for vaccination, for antenatal care and everything. They were saying, you know, we feel so sorry for this young lady. You know, they were feeling sorry because, yes, she's alone and she does everything in that dispensary.
Oh, you mean she was actually, you found her there?
No, she was there. She came. She was there. She came because we are visiting the dispensary. But looking into, imagine this girl, but she was very happy. That's why, as Mr. Moyo was saying, that there's a lot of people, a lot of them doing a fantastic job. But imagine that environment where this girl, pregnant, full term, and she has to attend over 100 women with their children.
In the same position they can.
And at the same time, you looking, because there's a lot of challenge with that in relation to shortage of staff. The health sector is so much. This is one of the main problems there.
I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot to ask him, very briefly, if this data is with you. How many nurses are there in the whole country? But
there are about 38,000.
38,000. Oh, that's a good number. Now
let's good.
We have 5 minutes.
Okay.
My last question.
Okay.
So all what you have said,
yes,
all what you've analyzed, and they're very fundamental, very important.
Yeah.
What are the challenges of nursing and midwifery profession then? Challenges today as we sit here.
As a professional.
Yes.
I think for me, as we said, I think it's the whole issue around education.
Yes.
It's the whole issue around the professional path. Where do they end? Is the whole issue around motivation, as I said, because as we are looking where we are moving globally, and Tanzania is part of it, in health, we are talking of universal health coverage. How do we reach universal health coverage if you don't have people who are motivated, first educated, well-educated, well-trained, well-regulated in terms of what we were saying about the regulations, motivated. If you have at least these three, you can be able to ensure that they can be able to perform what they're supposed to perform. And we also need, as part of the global world, we need to ensure that we reach the Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
So meaning that those challenges I'm talking about, they're also like compounded by other challenges, like lack of, we talked about lack of medicine, equipment, you know, the support environment.
My director is telling me, in fact,
the support environment.
We have to wind now, but before we wind, my director will understand very quickly, Mr. Director Moyo, one or two challenges, not as many.
I think the challenges to me, I think, is weak public or community ownership of the services. That's also another big challenge. Someone is there, it's like they are leaving the facility for herself to struggle. They should own. The moment the people in the community, the village, they own, it's easier to address and to support that worker.
They should participate.
Yes, it's their facility. It's not owned by the government.
Yes.
It is their facility.
Shouldn't just sit to expect service when they don't have any input in it to make the services better. Well, my panelists, I'm sorry. We have to wind up now. Thank you very much, Mr. Moyo, and thank you very much, Madam Bana, for your contribution towards the impending conference in Dodoma. It seems to me now, despite the fact that I read so much about it, it's such an important scientific conference. And there's a lot to be learned by the participating nurses and midwives who you have invited to the tune of 400, plus the paper presenters from all over the world. Now, I expect that the objectives and purpose will be achieved, and then the big question will be, what next? So, viewers, you heard the views of my panelists here. The National Nursing and Midwifery Scientific Conference to be held in Dodoma from the 4th to the 6th of April, 2018, is the first to be held for nursing and midwifery professionals in the country. Nursing and midwifery services in any hospital or health clinic are fundamental, essential, and basic requirement for public service or public health services. As we've heard from my panelists here, there are a number of things that need to be provided. Therefore, this scientific conference is aimed at providing nurses and midwives with an opportunity to learn from each other, to get information on the current national and global developments in nursing and midwifery practice. It's an important conference also to know. It is important to note that also that the World Health Organization says the health system can only function with the skilled health workers. Who are these health workers? These are the midwives, nurses we've talked about. Hence, the theme of the conference, as I said at the beginning, towards quality, compassionate, and safe nursing midwifery practice, addressing maternal and neonatal morbidity and mortality. We wish your conference a success next month in Dodoma, and I hope we'll have an opportunity to come back here and review what has transpired in the conference to see what next. This is all, viewers, I have for you today. Until next Sunday at the same time, which is 21 hours, and on Thursday, 15 hours for the repeat program. On behalf of my very able two panelists, and a lady for the first time in many programs, Felicite Buana from UNFPA, Gustav Moyo from the Ministry of Health, who is Director of Nurses or Nursing and Midwifery Training, and my television crew as well. Thank you very much, viewers, and goodbye.
Thank you.